Welcome to Necessary Roughness. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. Oh, by the way, fantasyalarm.com is where you can find my stuff, and you're obviously viewing this video in most cases. Let's talk about the running back position in 2015 with a little bit of a review from the regular season. We're going to start with the number of 3.1. It's the number of yards per carry for Devonta Freeman in the second half of the season. Now, he was a stupendous performer, better than anyone could have ever anticipated. I personally thought Coleman would lead the backfield maybe in a 60-40 split with Freeman. It ended up being Freeman all day, one of the best running backs in football, a monster in PPR setups. But again, 3.1 yards a carry in the second half of the season. In that second half of the season, he didn't even average 50 yards a game on the ground. Really low number. 2 rushing touchdowns. He also lost 12 yards a game as a pass catcher. His second half was really subpar compared to his first half in just an average type of effort. I think he's going to be drafted too high in most cases in 2016. I would expect Tevin Coleman's role to grow. And as I noted, Devonta Freeman was not a difference maker in the second half. It was just his pass catching that really kept his fantasy value afloat. Second number of the day is 66.6. That's the yards per game on the ground by Latavius Murray. And I'm on record as saying, nice skills, but I just don't really get it. And that's kind of what we saw from Murray this season. With all the injuries and turnover at the running back position, he was a solid play most weeks. But 4.0 yards a carry, 66.6 yards a game on the ground, less than 3 receptions a game, 6 rushing touchdowns. This is about as blah a season as you're ever going to see from a guy who was the lead back and the only back, basically, for an offense. You'll take the numbers, that's fine, okay, right? We'll play him out there every week and be happy with it. But Latavius Murray did nothing, in my mind, that includes boosting his performance for 2016. He really was just a guy this year. He just got a lot of work. Next number is 10, as in the number of touchdowns scored this season by Lamar Miller. 8 on the ground, 2 as a runner. Now, Miller averaged about 3 catches a game in addition to scoring those 10 touchdowns. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry. So his reward for that, the 18th most carries in football, 194. Murray is a free agent this year. He will not be returning to the Dolphins, who for years now have been completely incapable of understanding how to utilize Miller. Miller still finished the season because of his overall game as a running back one in the PPR setup. He should improve everything next year if he gets to a team that understands his talent and utilizes him properly. How a guy can score 10 touchdowns and average 4.5 yards a carry and end up 18th in football in carries, that tells you why they're having problems in Miami. Final number of the day is 4.1 as the yards per carry mark of Eddie Lacy this season. His career mark is 4.3. Really not that far off. Now, his season was terrible. He was injured. The weight concerns grew even bigger this year. The concerns there are totally valid with Lacy. He averaged 10 rushing touchdowns his first 2 years. Only scored 3 times on the ground this year. Averaged just under 40 receptions his first 2 years. Only had 20 this year. It was a down season by any measure. But he really wasn't that far off. It was more of the injury and the inability to consistently get those 18 carries a week than it was anything else. Massive disappointment this year. I can't believe how bad he was. I'm still going to look at drafting Eddie Lacy. I almost said Eddie Murray, thinking about the Hall of Fame. I'm still going to draft Eddie Lacy next season. I don't think the price will be very high. I don't think it'll be prohibitive. I still think there's a running back there that could do some things, though he was a massive disappointment in the previous season. Ray Flowers, fantasyalarm.com. Don't forget to visit us, fantasyalarm.com. We've got playoff fantasy football stuff for you there. We've got all kinds of coverage for NHL and NBA, and we're just starting to ramp up our baseball coverage as well, fantasyalarm.com.